The following show is a Pod Avenue production.
This is the Young Bucks.
And you're listening to the This Is Awesome Wrestling Show. Too sweet me.
The holiday weekend is upon us. And with that, a little late release of the This Is Awesome Wrestling Show episode number 105, Dropkicks and Hot Dogs. That's this week's episode title. And we'll get into that very, very shortly. I want to thank everybody who listened to last week's show. Getting my podcast Smile back, episode number 104. Getting back in the swing of things this week. On non-interview weeks, what I'll do is I'll take three topics that is taking the wrestling internet community by storm and give my take on it, give my short take on it. This will be short episodes. And I'm bringing out the debut episode, debut segment, the debut of the Glenmore Must Watch on the WWE Network segment extravaganza. That's a long-ass title. But basically, everybody, I know you guys watch the network on a regular basis. I'm going to give you my program to watch. Either it's going to be a show, an old wrestling match, a pay-per-view, episode of Raw, SmackDown, Nitro, and give you my little thoughts around the pay-per-view. So I'll do that later to wrap up the show. And like I said, three topics that has taken the internet wrestling community by storm this week. Give my short take about it. That's going to be this week's episode and in the coming weeks. And if we're going to interview, those weeks will just be strictly interviews with some wrestling personality, a wrestler, a former wrestler on the show. So those will be prevalent on the show as well. But like I said, mixing in these shows are just non-guest weeks, but still giving you a show. Happy Sunday to you, releasing this on this Sunday. Hopefully you guys are having a safe Memorial Day weekend if you're here in the U.S. If you're overseas, hopefully you're having a safe weekend as well. This is why the show was a little bit late this week because of the holiday. Out grilling, barbecuing, out having some fun with friends, and giving you a show this Sunday. So I will have a show on Thursday as well, working on getting some guests for future weeks for the show. All right. Dinner with the King. We are every week on Wednesday. My other podcast I'm currently doing, it is with Jerry the King Lawler on podavenue.com/king. We are 12 episodes in with a bonus episode with the Rock and Roll Express. This week we talked about Owen Hart because last week was the 18th anniversary of Owen Hart's death. And we talked about how the King was one of the first people to rush the Hart's side in the ring when he fell from the Raptors. So we talked about that. Very emotional episode, very hard to talk about, even 18 years after the fact. I was a huge Owen Hart fan myself, and he was the first wrestling action figure that I ever owned. And I think I still have it actually in the parents' basement. But Owen Hart, it was very, very, I love Owen Hart, watching Owen Hart wrestle. And it was, like I said, it was very hard to talk about that with Jerry on this week's Dinner with the King. I remember even after Owen Hart passed away that following Monday, the day after, a lot of my wrestling fans in high school, I was 99. I was a sophomore in high school, good old Aurora High School in Ohio. And we all wore, we took notebook paper and wrote in permanent marker, OH, for Owen Hart, and we wore it as an armband for the whole day through school. And there was about 6 of us because we're all big wrestling fans, and Owen Hart, it really affected us deeply when him passing away that Sunday night. So that was the episode for this Dinner with the King. So if you guys want to listen to that, podavenue.com/king. You can search Dinner with the King on any podcast app, getting hundreds of thousands of downloads for the episode. And if you want to listen, Dollar Shave Club is our sponsor. And we were talking about pranks, and King was giving us a little bit insight about the Flight from Hell. And we're going to do a whole episode on that. with Jerry and I, because he was a member of that crew that was on the flight from hell, and we did a segue from a flight from hell to a Dollar Shave Club spot. So that was very, very interesting how the segue worked. Hope Dollar Shave Club's happy with the plug. But let's get into this week's episode of the This Is Awesome Wrestling Show. Like I said, 3 topics, my take, and then my This Is Awesome Wrestling Show WWE Network Pick Extravaganza. This week's title is Hot Dogs and Dropkicks. And I say that because Jerry the King Lawler, mentioned him in the opening of the podcast we do during with the King. Jerry was here in Cleveland for the weekend, visiting, taking in a couple Tribe games. Had a chance to talk with him. Great, awesome time to see the King. Well, no, I'm sorry. I see him every week for the podcast. Yeah, I see him in Memphis every week. But he was here in town, taking in some Tribe games, and he decided to get involved with the hot dog race. Now, every ballpark across the country has a race. There's in Washington D.C. they have the race of the presidents. You have Milwaukee. I think you have the brat race, and here in Cleveland you have the hot dog race, which is ketchup, mustard, and onion. They race around the ballpark, and ketchup is a weasel. Ketchup is the heel of that trio, and always seems to cheat his way to a victory. Now, Jerry the King Lawler, huge Indians fan, huge Cleveland fan, was in attendance, decided to get they were going at it on social media back and forth, and Jerry decided to get involved as Ketchup was rounding home plate, behind home plate. You see, Lawler stopped him. 67-year-old man, drop kicking Ketchup, and then clotheslining him, dropping an elbow. And then I think Mustard came in and dropped an elbow. Jerry the King Lawler making headlines. This took over. Fox Sports was all over it. Indians' Twitter account was tweeting it. People were tweeting about it at the game. It took social media by storm. How about Jerry the King Lawler? I've always put over Jerry Lawler because not only is one of my all-time favorites, but he is a good friend. And I was texting him after, and I'm like, you're just crazy, dude. You are just absolutely nuts, because we all know that he is zombie Jerry Lawler from his cardiac arrest 5 years ago, live on Monday Night Raw in Canada. But still wrestling, still being active, and this man is just, I think he's never going to die. He is going to live forever and continue to wrestle for years to come, barring any injury. And him getting involved in the Indians game is just terrific. And him and Lauren's son were in town. It was just it was a great time to see the King and see him getting involved, because, like I said, he loves the Tribe and he loves Cleveland. Always likes to come back and take in some Tribe games and take in some Browns games. Huge Browns fan as well. But that was taking over social media. A lot of people were talking about it. A lot of different social media posts, a lot of posts on major media outlets talking about Jerry the King Lawler drop kicking a hot dog during the Tribe game. Before we get into the second topic for today's show, I want to plug myself. I was a guest on WrestlingInc.com, their SmackDown review show last Wednesday. It's a live show. It was done on YouTube, on Google Hangouts. It's a video. The video is up there. Also, it's on their podcast apps for Wrestling Inc. And we did a SmackDown review with Glenn and Raj from Wrestling Inc. And we going on there, here and there to talk wrestling with those guys. So you can watch the video. The link is off the YouTube, on YouTube, but you can get the link on the This Is Awesome Wrestling Show official Twitter account. It's just at TIA Wrestling. You guys can follow along on social media, but the link is off of there. And I am going to be tomorrow, or if you guys want to download it, if you're listening later in the week, on the Raw Rebellion on WrestleZone.com, reviewing Raw right after Raw. And I'm going to be on there talking about what transpired on Monday Night Raw, the Memorial Day show. And so, like I said, you can listen to that tomorrow. Not sure when it'll be up. I think it'll be up right after Raw. We're going to record it after Raw happens, and then It should go up right after then or in the morning on Tuesday. The link will be posted. It's on WrestleZone. I'm sure a lot of you guys follow WrestleZone. I'll be on there talking about Raw Rebellion. I'll be going on appearances on there. So look for me on Wrestle Inc. and look for me on WrestleZone. So trying to get my name a little out there, trying to get to some pub for the show, and also talk some wrestling with some respectable journalist websites. So that's a segue for topic number 2, and that's Jinder Mahal as WWE Champion. Now, he has worked hard on his physique. We all know he is jacked. And he has worked in ring as well. We all know him. His previous stints in WWE was released, then came back, and it seemed like he was just, a roster fill out, a guy that just to fill out the roster when the brand split happened. Didn't really have a role, wasn't really taken that seriously when it came to booking him. And all of a sudden, with not too impressive win-loss record, he becomes the number 1 contender for the WWE Championship, beats Randy Orton at Backlash, had the big celebration on SmackDown, and it was glorious. Just a glorious celebration. They had the drummers come out, the dancers, Jinder comes out, celebrates, does her spiel. But let's be honest. Let's just, stick with what we know. The WWE is really, really trying to tap in to that India market with trying to get the network in there or trying to build up the network in there and really trying to plug to India. And that's a big population of people. And with Jinder Mahal as a champion, we know he's from Canada, but having him be WWE champion and, his character being from India is just brings more eyes to the product. And that's what WWE needs right now is more eyes to the product. And while Jinder Mahal isn't in the same class as a Randy Orton or Bray Wyatt or Chris Jericho, Kevin Owens, it brings a fresh face to the WWE Championship. It turns some heads. Now, is Jinder Mahal going to be a 2-year champion, a year champion? Absolutely not. But for right now, with where SmackDown is at, he is a transitional champion. He is the right transitional champion. He is a heel. And he is getting some kind of heat, some kind of reaction. That's what you need. If it was crickets, maybe not a good idea, but he is getting some heat. And beating Randy Orton adds some credibility to the championship himself with him having it. And, he's going to hold it probably for a couple weeks into the next pay-per-view, or maybe a month, and hold on to it. Who knows? Maybe he will be a couple of months champion. But I just don't think people should really overreact to this. People want new faces. They complain about Randy Orton being champion over and over again. But then you have a new guy in Jinder Mahal who has never been champion, has never really had that moment in his career to be legitimate, finally is there. And you can say for whatever reason, whatever the reason is for WWE to give him the championship, and like I said, really tapping into the Indian market. But for him to be champion, what do you want, wrestling fans? Do you want Sami Zayn to be champion? Why? Why would Sami Zayn be the right champion right now? For what WWE needs and what their plans are business-wise, it is the right call. But if you want to go through some names that haven't been champion and just throw the belt on them because they're an internet darling, that's not how they do business. That's not how they do business. Jinder Mahal is the right champion. It makes me want to watch SmackDown on a regular basis to see what happens, to see if Randy Orton gets payback or someone else comes and challenges Jinder Mahal. A transitional champion is what Jinder Mahal is, and whoever takes it from him, whether it be Randy Orton or someone else, it's going to make the belt for them. I think it's going to raise a championship the next time someone takes the belt from Jinder Mahal. So, Jinder Mahal, congrats, and enjoy it. Enjoy the ride. And I don't think he's going to be a main event player until WrestleMania, but it would be glorious to have Jinder Mahal get a WrestleMania entrance to come out like on an elephant, and whether people are going to be upset about cruelty in animals. I'm talking about this as a wrestling entrance, as Jinder Mahal, as a WWE champion or legitimate main eventer, coming out in New Orleans on an elephant and the dancers all around him. That would be glorious. That would be an epic WrestleMania entrance. Is it going to happen? Probably not. Jinder Mahal will probably be, my prediction right now, Jinder Mahal will probably be regulated to the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal on the pre-show when it comes to Jinder Mahal's WrestleMania plans. But hey, enjoy the ride, Jinder. You've take the ball and run, buddy. And you never know what could happen, but enjoy the transitional wrestling champion phase. And to wrap up this segment, second topic of this week's show, here is the Indian broadcast team for WWE and their call of Jinder Mahal becoming WWE champion.
जिंदर महाल जिंदर हमारा पंजाबी शेर WWE चैंपियन बन गए हैं जिंदर महाल.
Third and final topic for this week's show is talking about the Mae Young Classic. It is the WWE Women's Tournament going to be taking place this summer on the WWE Network. It's going to be similar to the Cruiserweight Classic and the UK Championship Tournament that transpired over the last couple years. It's going to be great. A lot of great indie talent when it comes to women's wrestling. Also, I'm sure some NXT ladies are going to be in the tournament. I would love to see. We all know her as Crazy Mary Dobson in the indie scene. I think she's going. Her ring name is Sarah Logan, kind of like a West Virginia redneck kind of girl. She is gonna. I hope she's in the tournament. I'm sure she probably will be. Another one I hope is Ruby Riott. I know she was. We know her as Heidi Lovelace. I'm talking a lot about the AIW fans who who know these women because they wrestle prominently, and that's how I kind of introduced to some of these girls. Her maybe possibly in the tournament. I know she got a title challenge. She challenged for the title NXT Takeover in Chicago, but maybe she will be in the tournament. Also, maybe some lesser known names that are making the mark. Maybe like a Britt Baker, who is the AIW staple, who's been on the show. If you guys listen to that interview, scroll down in the feed to listen to my interview with Britt Baker, sporting my Britsburg t-shirt as we speak right now. Big fan of her. Hopefully she'll be in the tournament. I'm sure she will be. Another be a dark horse. This woman has been making her mark in the independent scene. Jordynne Grace. You probably know her from Beyond Wrestling. She's only 21 years old, and she is she can lift weights. She is very, very strong, and she is watch some of her matches. Very, very good matches. You can watch some of them on YouTube. If you just search Jordynne Grace, JORDYNNE Grace. That's how she spells her name, at Jordynne Grace on Twitter. I would love to see her in the tournament as well. Kind of like my dark horse for the possible entrance. I know there's a Viper out there, a women's wrestler named Viper, that possibly could be in the tournament that I read as well. So we're going to see a lot of maybe international flavor as well in the tournament. But I really hope we get some up and coming women's wrestlers in this tournament. And make their mark and make the next push, and who knows? These women could be the next WWE Women's champions for Raw or SmackDown, or at least making that jump to NXT. Triple H has his eyes on a lot of talent when it comes to, and they really plucking them to NXT. And who knows, from NXT, anything can happen. So. Women's Classic, I'm sure I'll be talking about that in the coming weeks and talking about some entrants when they are announced. And I really hope to see, like I said, Jordynne Grace and Britt Baker and Sarah Logan, a.k.a. Crazy Mary Dobson, in the tournament. That would be very spectacular. And who knows? Shayna Baszler could be in that tournament. I mean, who knows what could transpire as well with her. She's been at the Performance Center a few times. Working with some current talent and also there for a tryout. So I'm sure we'll probably see her. making her mark in NXT very, very shortly, making her way to the main roster. So plenty of women to pick from Triple H, and I'm sure this tournament will be highly, highly watched in the summer. And the women deserve it. A lot of indie wrestlers, women wrestlers deserve this kind of recognition and to be put on there on the main spot, the main event, and really turn some heads and hopefully make their mark. And like I said, make the jump to NXT and the WWE main roster. So hope to see this turn out. We'll talk about some of the entrants when they are announced, and maybe get a few of them on the show. Never know in the future. All right, it's time for the Glenmore This Is Awesome Wrestling Show, WWE Network, must-see extravaganza. I hope I got the name right. Maybe. I don't know. But that is a new little segment here on the show. I'm going to pick one show, one pay-per-view, one Raw, one SmackDown from one Nitro from way back, let you know what you should watch before next week's show. This week, I'm picking Starrcade 1998, and I only because I watched this over the weekend, but a little tidbit from this show that you might not know, and I'll get to that very shortly. Main event for the show for Starrcade 1998, which was taking place in Washington, D.C., so there was a lot of Bill Clinton jokes. Well, not jokes, but references, Hillary Clinton references, because he was president at this time. Gee, this is almost 19 years ago, which means we've had Clinton as president. We've had George Bush as president. We've had Barack Obama as president. Now we have Donald Trump. So, 4 presidencies have taken place since this pay-per-view, and I'm feeling old already. Kevin Nash took on Goldberg, who was a champion, the WCW World Heavyweight Champion. Still was undefeated in WCW, but we all know what happened in this no DQ match at 11:20. Kevin Nash pinned Goldberg and became WCW World Heavyweight Champion, but more importantly, snapped the undefeated streak of Goldberg with the help of Scott Hall, who came out with a taser, tased Goldberg, and Hall was wearing a security shirt because security was rushed to the ring to break up a fight that was happening. Bam Bam Bigelow came into the ring. I think Bret Hart came out there as well. But they were breaking it up. Scott Hall came and tased Goldberg, jackknife powerbomb by Kevin Nash, and it was over 1-2-3. Kevin Nash defeats Goldberg and breaks the all-time streak. Speaking of the streak, Asuka is undefeated in NXT. She has wrestled more times, she has a winning streak longer than Goldberg, and Asuka acknowledged it on Twitter. Goldberg responded, and the debate obviously Goldberg is a big draw. This was, Goldberg was the number of matches he did not win all those matches, and I mean that because, some weeks he would have 120, and then it would jump to 125 in a matter of 2 days. Like he wrestled, double back, twice in 2 days, which was not the case. It was a work. But Asuka, I think, is true because she's been here for a couple of years, has wrestled around Florida, NXT. And I believe that hers is legitimate. I could be wrong. But, breaking Goldberg's streak. Goldberg loses in this match. And then that set up a feud with Bam Bam Bigelow with Goldberg. But in this pay-per-view, we saw Bischoff defeat Ric Flair with some interference, I believe. Then you had DDP defeat the Giant in the co-main event, which saw DDP reverse a top rope chokeslam attempt by the Giant into a diamond cutter, one of DDP's more memorable diamond cutters. And he defeated the Giant at 12:45. Some undercard matches that were pretty good. We had a Billy Kidman versus Rey Mysterio versus Juventud Guerrera and a triple threat match for the WCW Cruiserweight Championship. This was the longest match of the night, going almost 15 minutes. Billy Kidman getting the pin. And then Eddie Guerrero came out, and you saw Billy Kidman go back-to-back in matches, defeating Eddie Guerrero for the Cruiserweight Championship, defending it successfully twice in one night, and he almost went 25 minutes in the first opening of the show. Billy Kidman getting a nice little push here. Norman Smiley defeated Prince Iaukea. Prince Iaukea was one of my favorites back then. I was, 15 years old during this pay-per-view. Prince Iaukea was one of my favorites. Perry Saturn defeated Ernest the Cat Miller, which was with Sonny Ono. Brian Adams and Scott Norton, the NWO with Vincent, defeated Fit Finley and Jerry Flynn in a tag match. Conan, a champion, the United States World Television Champion, beat Chris Jericho with Ralphus at the 7-minute mark. And that was the Starrcade 1998. And this set up the Ric Flair, Eric Bischoff. Their feud continued. We saw Flair become president of WCW. We saw Bischoff leave for a little while. Hogan got involved. And then eventually Bischoff regained control of WCW. And then we all saw the next couple of years the demise of WCW. But this is a good pay-per-view to watch. A lot of good wrestling, especially early on with the Lucha Libre wrestlers. He had Eddie Guerrero, Billy Kidman, Rey Mysterio, Juventud Guerrera. Those guys are putting on great matches night in and night out for WCW, which they were more prevalent. And he obviously had Chris Jericho wrestling, and obviously the return of Ric Flair with the Horsemen were banned from ringside. And obviously Goldberg, his winning streak snapped by Kevin Nash and the NWO Wolfpack. The big pop for Kevin Nash too, and it was a lot of people wanted to see Goldberg's streak end, and they saw it, and they popped immensely because they're witnessing history firsthand. A little tidbit from this, I mentioned this in the opening of the topic of this segment. Stacy Keibler, and I'll post a photo on the This Is Awesome Wrestling Show Twitter feed at TIA Wrestling. Stacy Keibler was in the crowd. This is before she was noticed, I think, by WCW, before her tryout, and there's a little tidbit of her getting down to the NWO Wolfpack theme, and it's clearly her wearing an NWO Wolfpack shirt and getting down during the show. The camera was right on her, so that was pretty interesting because that was her official first time on WCW. And this is her as a fan, but we all know how her career turned out, and all from being on WCW to WWE to dating George Clooney. If she only knew. If we can go back in time, 1998, Washington, D.C., Starrcade, and I'm sure she probably would have slapped you across the face if you would have told her that she would be a WCW diva with Miss Hancock and then going to WWE and dating George Clooney. I think she's married, has a kid now with another celebrity. I don't know the guy's name. But, yeah, that is your Glenmore WWE Network. This is Awesome Wrestling Show Extravaganza. Must watch on the network. Blah, 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 blah. Watch it. I'll be back next week with another show or pay-per-view or Raw to watch. It's going to wrap it up for this week, folks. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys like the little new format. All by myself. But hoping to get some interviews for the next few weeks. And go back, listen to the feed. Had a lot of downloads for previous shows. And a lot of great interviews on there. Recently, when it comes to the feed, you have to scroll down that far down. But we have an interview with Tommy Dreamer, episode 102. You can listen to that, talking about wrestling in general, ECW, House of Hardcore. Also, Drinks with Grado is a subscriber special. That is an episode. It's about 10 minutes long that you guys should definitely listen to. Grado is terrific. Love that man deeply. He is a staple in professional wrestling in the indie scene, especially in the UK. Also, you probably saw him on TNA. And you guys listen to Seth Rollins, episode 8, Samoa Joe, episode number 31, Sasha Banks, 18, Young Bucks, 27, who are in the opening of the show. And he had Adrian Neville when he was known as that, episode number 16 from back in February of 2015. So go back. There's plenty of interviews to listen to, a lot of great interviews, and you can get your fix of the This Is Awesome Wrestling Show before we drop on Thursday. Hope you guys like the show. Let me know what you think. Follow us on Twitter at TIA Wrestling. Let us know what you thought of the show. You can listen to Dinner with the King every Wednesday. Just search Dinner with the King or Jerry Lawler Podcast, any podcast app, or head over to podavenue.com/king for the show each and every Wednesday. We're right in the middle, towards the end of our Andy Kaufman, Jerry Lawler feud episode series. And go back to listen to last week's episode, like I talked about in the opening, about Owen Hart. I'm Glenn Moore. I'll talk to you guys next week. This is Awesome Wrestling Show at TIA Wrestling on Twitter. We're on Facebook. Search This Is Awesome Wrestling Show. I really appreciate you guys listening. I'm thankful. I'm really excited about getting the show back up and running on a weekly basis. Hope you have a safe holiday weekend. Please remember all the, while you're cooking out and all the parades and whatnot, while you have the day off from work, please remember why we have this holiday, for all the brave men and women who defend our country and defend our rights here in America. So I'll talk to you guys on Thursday. This is Awesome Wrestling Show out.
The preceding show is a Pod Avenue production.